I want to tell you something about burnout because I know we talk about this all the time through many different lenses. And I've, gone on the record to say employees aren't broken. It's not their fault they're burnt out. And some leaders think, well, what the hell? It is their fault, right? Like it's not my problem. Well, the truth is it's a systemic problem. It's an organizational issue. This is not something that one person has this just one day they wake up and they're burnt out. It's the work hours, it's the way work is handled, it's the quality of the leaders, it's strategic planning, and so much more from a system standpoint. So today's episode, I brought an expert in to talk to us about system level change and really looking at burnout not as its own thing, but a symptom of something else. So you want to lean in, whether you're the board member, CEO, frontline manager, someone in your family who you love is in leadership and burning out. I mean, we all know what's going on. But let's get to the heart. Let's get to the heart, right? We want to talk about today the humans in tech, the heart inside each human, and how that can unleash and unlock and eradicate burnout. So today we have a guest here today. I'm so excited because we met in a breakout room on Zoom, and we were talking about what our calling is and what our mission in life is. And when we were sharing, I was like, I need to talk to her more. That we have so much in common and so much alignment with regards to our own vision and values. And so I just want to say that today, this isn't just like the fan club of Lisa. I am a big fan, but I'm bringing you an expert so that you can really take a look at how might you redesign work for yourself and those around you so that burnout is no longer a symptom of a much larger systemic issue. So Alenka, I'm so glad you're here on Ctrl Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lisa, for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, listen, I was practicing with Alenka. Thank you so much for practicing. I wanted to say her name right because the thing I know about inclusion is that when you can get someone's name right, you already feel safer and more involved. So I'm going to do my best. And it's funny because I've known Alenka almost 2 years and I've never pronounced her last name until today. So I'm going to give it a good go, Alenka, and we're going to jump right in. So Alenka Znidarsic. Znidarsic. I'm going to keep trying. Hang on. Alenka Znidarsic. How did I do?
You did very well. Thank you.
I do very well. I've been practicing. Yes. Right. And how does it feel? Let me just ask you this. The fact that I'm trying and giving it my all, what does that feel like for you? Is just a quick model lesson for other people.
It feels so good. I am Slovenian, so I know how difficult it is to pronounce my last name. And when someone is even trying to say my last name right, it feels that someone accepted me, that I belong here where I live now.
Oh, I'm so glad. And thank you for letting me do that and actually have that conversation. Because listen, Duerre, people never get that right either. So I know what it feels like. But I was born here and married into this name. And I think one of the things that as leaders we can help from a burnout standpoint, it involves belonging and feeling included in the process. So I think what I'd like to do is just start out a little bit sharing with people why you do what you do. And I know it's no secret because it's on everywhere that I've seen that you have your PhD, but I think it's important for people to know you have your PhD in electrical engineering. Like this is no joke, and that you've actually taken the time to build your education through this process and look at leadership and systems, and specifically been really focusing with me lately on burnout. So what caused you, or what inspired you to go get your PhD in electrical engineering?
Thank you for this question, because I am passionate about technology. Technology, I was always very passionate about it. It's very close to my heart. The second thing, I'm a very curious person. So curiosity helped me to build up my education towards PhD. And not only being passionate about technology, I'm passionate also about the people. That's why I ended in artificial intelligence field, where I explore how to use artificial intelligence to help diagnose faults in technical systems. So in fact, it was two worlds research. One had human being, how to think about the fault detection and diagnostic things. And on the other side, technology, how to use it to help people in manufacturing world with that.
I'm just like, I hope everyone has a pen and they're going to get their notebook ready, because when you're talking to someone who has taken both worlds of artificial intelligence and the human side from a leadership and system standpoint, this is such a gift. And thank you for honoring us with your time today, because yeah, the heart, the people inside tech, especially with you having the artificial intelligence research background. I mean, who better to talk about what we really need to do when we are looking at the people inside the organizations, not just the outputs, right? So I'd love to can we just go there? Tell me more about your philosophy and your beliefs on burnout as a symptom and not a cause, and yet looking at root cause.
There is so many beliefs about the engineers and tech people that we have as a society. First of all, the engineers are geek. They have only analytical side of themselves. Then they are very good in fixing things. They are very good in math, but not good in communication, dealing with people. And the second thing is also that the philosophy, failing fast, learning fast, innovate fast, causing a lot of stress to engineers because they don't have space to share what's wrong, what can be done differently. Everyone expects from the engineers that they will fix things, that they will innovate things with all the resources that they have. Nobody really see them, or very rare leadership see them as a human being with a heart, that they have challenges, or maybe they are afraid to speak about failures, or they have a lot of self-talk when they fail. And those are all the things. And nowadays we know that the leadership required to do more with less, with the speed and scale for engineers that never thought of to really create new things that they were never imaginable on the world. Mm-hmm. So the engineers, and especially I would say project managers, that they are close to the leadership level, or they are leaders, they are feeling trapped because they have to put technology, innovation, and excellence first, even with their people. And many times they don't have space to speak about who they are, people behind innovation. Ask them just how they are feeling. If they cannot deliver in time, what are some reasons behind, to really listen deeply and understand. Just bring some heart and human space in understanding the people behind technology.
I'm welling up, and I haven't done this before. I don't think we're going on season 3. I don't think I've welled up on a topic this close to my heart before. When I think about these leaders who have always been promoted and rewarded for their technical brilliance, back to your point, right? And now they're in this place, in this world that we're in, where we've never been here before. There is no precedent or any, the speed and the scope of change is so drastic that there's still this belief system that people are holding on to, that you have to have all the answers yourself, and you better get it right the first time, and we don't have time for mistakes. And here we are with this pressure cooker, right? And I think the reason I was welling up is I feel like you were putting voice for every engineer and every engineering leader right now, like, hey, see me, I'm more than just my technical expertise, right? I'm a human being who works in tech, and I have a life outside of work, and I have my own internal dialogue in my heart and in my head about what's good enough. I mean, Alenka, I use this phrase, always on, never good enough, will replace you tomorrow. I see that a lot in tech, right? And I don't even know that it's always true, but it's how it's perceived by this system and the organization and the decisions that are being made. And I think that sometimes a simple question like, how might we minimize risk and still move fast, is such a gift to anybody, so that they can at least presence their concerns or their ideas. I'm curious what questions that you think might be useful for leaders to just take notes of right now, to see the human and to bring their heart, so that we are not causing so much stress on people. What are some go-to questions you have when you work with clients?
The go-to questions for, I would say, if you are a tech leader, for the engineers they are working to really start every meeting when you talk about the technology, innovation, what's matter most now?
Mm-hmm.
Or what is the main purpose that we are together now? How are you feeling today about talking about new innovation or progress? So the question that really lights up the human purpose, the engineering purpose behind why I am doing the work that I'm doing.
I love this. So you're talking about really tapping into purpose so that people can remember their why.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm thinking about every project meeting, right? Just going with, here's what's broken. What are we fixing? What's next? How many tickets are open? What customer is the most pissed off today? Blah, 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 blah. And before all that, hey, what are you proud of today? What matters most right now? How are you feeling? I mean, and I know a lot of leaders are like, I don't want to ask that. What if I don't? What if they cry? Or what if this? Or how do I handle that? Like, I don't want to get all touchy feely. That's that HR stuff, right? But you have your PhD in electrical engineering, and you're telling me that these questions matter. I'm curious. I would love to hear more. I would just double click on that.
Those questions really matters. After my PhD, I changed my role and I transform into the leader in tech. And I learned how important it is to put the person or people before technology. However, my approach was not always appreciated. My leadership style was not appreciated by my top leaders. They require from me really excellent work. They want quality products in time, deliver in time. Mm-hmm. And when I start talking about the people side, they were, the engineers, they can fix the problems. Not only that I experienced my people burn out, I also experienced how much self-talk I had for myself. And being a person with a lot of ideas, I try to go for every idea they throw on me and please my leadership. Mm-hmm. So at one point, I was on a time that I broke down. I burned out. It was an interesting experience because I realized that from myself that I'm completely burned out. I decided to change a job. And my leadership, they didn't see that coming. They were reacting as being a victim. Mm-hmm. And I would say after half a year, I had an open, honest discussion with my leader, top leader, about that. We are still good friends because we realized how important it was for them to see that not only I wanted to do the best for the company, but they as a leadership, they didn't provide a safe space for me to share my challenges at that time. Mm-hmm. And also what they saw that also the system in place they have, they were not allowing me to do more human work. So it was on two levels.
Yeah.
It was my personal challenge,
mm-hmm.
but it was also organizational challenge. Because as an organization, they put in place the systems that they cause a lot of stressors to the people working in them. So pushing the deadlines, excellence, reward only those elements. Not seeing others' behaviors like being good with people. Mm-hmm. Being empathy was not rewarded. So I'm still good friend with all of the people with the organization that I started and that I was a tech leader at that time.
Wow.
However, they were open to have those conversations. And at the end, they told me, you brought a big change to our company. And that helped me also to see that I give a lot to the company.
Yeah.
However, I was not trained to deal with the stress at that time.
Yeah. I think I went on record, our corporate video, I said something along the lines of technical leaders without people skills are your biggest liability. And the interviewer at the time was like, I've never heard it like that before. I'm like, yeah, because think of all the healthcare costs, the turnover costs, the errors that aren't getting fixed, the workplace situations where people are not bringing their best. That's a liability. And it's not as easy to quantify as just turnover, right? But when you have a leader who has been praised and always rewarded for their technical excellence, and you're not prioritizing the business or the people side, that's what you're going to get, is you caring so much, not being able to bring your whole heart to work, and then burning out. Right? I mean, it's the basic recipe for what we're talking about. And I think one of the things that I'd love to, if anyone listening is probably thinking, what did she say? How did she bring it up? Like, how is she still friends? How did they not just get pissed off because she resigned and wanted to do things differently? Is there anything you can share with us about how you approach those conversations, or how did you get them to be more open to the concept that, you have to bring your heart to work and there's people involved?
Was the first time very, I would say, experience for me that I really opened my heart.
Mm-hmm.
When we sit together, I said to my manager, look, I do recognize the goals that you have in an organization and the vision that you have. However, I was not able to deal with all the ideas, and I was not able to communicate in time that I struggle. For my benefit and for you as an organization benefit, I have to talk about that, and I have to leave the company because I need space for myself. I came from the place of gratefulness because I was grateful that I was able to grow in that organization. I still appreciate the opportunity that they gave me. However, I felt like that I have to talk for the other people in the organization, how important is really to have time to listen. There was nothing to lose because I know already that I will not be part of the company.
Yeah, it's almost like I can tell you now because there's no penalty involved. I'm already on my way out. So I'm going to do everyone else a favor and advocate for them on my way as I transition. Am I hearing that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
with an open heart, with
Mhm.
really open heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Open heart for sure, because that takes massive courage. And also it takes clarity on what's yours and what's not. And when you're in burnout, because I have burnt out myself. My own experience was I just felt really broken. And I figured it for a long time in the process, it was just all my fault. And I think that's why I start saying it's not your fault, you're not broken, right? Because I recognize those feelings so deeply. And once I started realizing my nervous system needed to be reset, my mental models needed to change, and I needed to take my power back. Not that like anybody took it from me, I was giving it away by the choices I was making. And so really I had to look at what was mine and what was the system. And I think the conversation today is so useful for people, because the thing you're saying is that I hope the leaders listening right now are like, who on my team can I make it safe for them to open their heart before they open their heart on the way out the door? Right? Who right now is at risk, and how might I be a better listener? Right? Because you were talking about wanting to share and talk about where you were feeling stuck or overwhelmed. I'm using my words, where you were saying there was so much input, right? So what do you wish your leadership at the time, if they had noticed this about you, what question could they have asked or presenced to make you feel to actually create a safe place for you to share what's going on rather than having to just hold it all together. What do you think would have been helpful? What question would you have loved that if they would have asked sooner?
The first, just invite me to have a conversation.
Mm.
And when they will start the conversation, just come up with a question, what's going on in your life? I'm seeing that you're really not yourself. I'm seeing that you struggle. So recognizes my behavior because my behavior changed. And even my coworkers noticed how my behavior changed.
Mm-hmm.
Just be there for me, not to criticize me, but to listen and trying to acknowledge that they listen and they hear me.
Yeah, this is so helpful. So what I'm thinking about was myself, because people noticed it in me too. And a couple people on my team said things to me and tried to help. My boss didn't see it because he was really busy, and I was really good at being in other buildings and hiding, or like, I mean, I really did hide for a while. I just didn't want to see people. I didn't want people to see my energy was so drained. So I would go in conference rooms and take phone calls because I knew if I went into the meeting room, you could read my face. So I got really good at like hiding it. And I'm thinking in the world we're now with hybrid, checking in with people, you have to be even more intentional. And then you have to make the time and the space. So one of the real opportunities for leaders right now is to really think about, adding 10 minutes to every one-on-one, or changing up your flow and making sure that you can be present with the person and get to the business second. And I know people worry about crying, or what if they say things I can't handle or can't fix. And what I've learned over time is that what's most important is that you just listen. And then you say, I need some time to think about this because I don't know what to do just yet, and I'll circle back. So I'm curious for you, if your manager had listened and said, hey, Alenka, I'm noticing your behavior is different, or you don't seem like yourself. And you were to say, well, I need time and space to think. And the manager said, okay, I want to go think about this so I can bring some options back to you. Would you feel okay that they didn't have all the answers, or would you have wanted the answers right then? Because I know people worry about that.
I would appreciate that so much from my leadership at that time.
Mm.
Or another way to go, just have brainstorming about opportunities or possible, I would not say solutions, possible options, how to move forward. Priorities.
Right? Yeah.
Those kind of things, like just having open conversation about what is meaningful for the company at that time, what makes sense, or what is high priority to move forward. And how can we adjust the plan that we had to move forward?
Okay. I'm so glad you presence those questions in those different lenses, because when we think about engineering and we think about tech in general, it's about fixing or innovating, right? And somewhere in between fixing and innovating is the opportunity, because fixing just takes us back to neutral. Innovation gets us into a whole new space. And so the questions are, how do you move over here? And so you said something so critical, which is, what are the possible options? How might we move forward? What are the priorities? I think that what I've noticed in my own experience as well, with our clients, is that it's not like there's anybody working on what we're going to stop doing. It's always what we're going to add on. And some of the simplest questions is, what are we going to start, stop, and continue? Right. And then for people to be able to say, hey, last week, I know this was the number one priority, but given you just added this to our team, where do you see this as a priority? Like getting people to verbalize what priorities are really there. I think that's a huge gift too. I really appreciate this reminder and your lens. I think it's critical.
I would say very useful questions are always where we are at in that moment. I would say with the people, resources, and due dates. What are some challenges that we notice? and what are some opportunities that we can move forward. Or I love the question, what is working and what we can improve?
Oh, okay. We love the question. I love it too now. Just you saying it, I loved it. What is working and what can we improve? Is that what you said? Did I get it right?
Yes, what is working well,
What is working well?
what
Yeah.
we can change, improve, do it differently.
Change, improve, and do differently. Okay. I listen, if they're not writing it down right now, this is a master class in effective communications and strategy to avoid burnout. This is masterful. I had Sherry Torres and Jackie Stavros on. We were talking about conversations worth having. I know you know the book. And they mentioned something very similar to what you're saying, but yours is a little different. So I want to presence it. They were talking about how everybody redlines proposals or PowerPoints or decks, right? And they were saying that the opportunity, instead of here's what's wrong, it's instead here's what I love about what you did, and here's what I'd like to see. So I just want to blend that with what you just said is here's what's working well, and what opportunities, possibilities, and challenges are we facing, right? Combined with here's what I loved and here's what I'd like to see. I mean, there you go. This is beautiful in the sense of just giving people tangible, practical things they can do right now, because we're not about boiling the ocean. This is just at the individual level, right? So I'd love to transition our focus here and look at it at the system level, because you are my favorite systems thinker on the planet that I work with. I am so inspired by the way that your brain and your heart connect to look at things on a much broader organizational level. And I think now that we've given leaders practical things they can do at individual level, what's the invitation for them when they're looking at burnout and stress in general, organizational stress? I'd love to just turn it over to you to just, I don't know, give us a few thoughts on either symptoms, root causes, what to look for, quick low-hanging fruit things they can do right now, because it is a system problem. It is an organizational issue, right? And I think if we don't talk about that, we're not doing them any favors.
I like to believe that burnout is not employee problem. It's organizational problem causing by the stressors they are in the organization. So I invite every organization to really look deep whenever the burnout happens. Those are the symptoms. So something underlying, some root causes the burnout in the organization. And how you can approach this, it's also always from two levels. First of all, it's very important to understand from data perspective. We have a lot of data, so we know already what's going on in the organization. Always start with the data, what I can see and learn from the data. I would like to remind leaders that having data, it's not about having knowledge. So only when you reflect on the data that you have in the organization, then you can realize what is going on in the organizations. Many times it's about the ecosystem that it's not supporting people side. So what I mean with that, first of all, we talk about the values, behavior, culture in the organization, but not about values on the paper, but how we live it day to day, how we act it day to day, how we show up day to day. And it's not only about the leaders, but it's also about all employees in organization. So we have to encourage everyone to really act aligned with the values and beliefs. That's the second level is systems, processes in place. So processes, when we are thinking about the leaders and employees, we think about the people's development, processes in place, how we engage people in the organization. Very important how we see and organize a space that the people feel psychological safety. It's not only train them how they behave in a team, but also giving them a processes in place, environment where they can all act and provide safety from the top leadership down to the employees. Then we talk about also about innovating processes, how we innovate, how we challenge people to work as a self-organizing team, an agile team. So it's about building trust in the teams, how we support the systems around the teams, that they can trust each other, that they can develop also some kind of behavior, trustworthy behavior between each other. And also what is important in those small teams, how we develop belonging, not only psychological safety, but also belonging. On the next level, I would say processes about mentoring, coaching in the organization, internal learning groups or teams, they can help each other when they are stuck. It's not only about the promoting, it's how we build the processes in place that they can have time and they can feel that they can engage in those activities.
Wow. Okay. I'm so excited for people to hear this. And there's so much you said. So I wanted to just laser focus on something, because this is what I hear all the time is there's no time. There's no time, right? And then we do time audits with our clients and we look at where do you spend your time, and, how much are you delegating and how are you staffed, and, what are the priorities, all of this, right? Which is systems at its best too. So when people say there's no time, it's really hard in the beginning to even open their minds to even change that. You can bend time. A high functioning team, a high performing team bends time. They play to their strengths, they manage their priorities, and they're crystal clear on their objectives, right? You can bend time. So I think it's important. Could you share your perspective on this? Because I know you work with clients at the system level, as well as individual contributors, leaders. What's your thought on time, and where are the lost buckets of time that people can regain? What examples do you uncover with your clients?
I would give example about learning and using the knowledge in the organization and the time.
Okay.
Leadership will send people on the training. So they will say, learn new things. So they will get a lot of new knowledge. And then they will say, okay, use new knowledge on the projects with your teams. But a lot of knowledge is not used in the real life because the people, they feel they don't have time, or they are not supported by the leadership. So one suggestion that I have always for organization, think about the projects that they are more advanced project or strategic project that you can engage people with the new knowledge and they can try new knowledge and to measure and reflect on the results. So when you measure and reflect on the results, then you feel if the knowledge is used, if it's powerful, and you can share with others. Mm-hmm. It's more about how you look at the new knowledge and how you use it in organizations. And this has to be systematically. That's my experience. So from the leadership perspective, thinking about the project you have and where you would like to see new knowledge to be used more or to shared more.
This is so interesting because right now we're doing a 6-month group cohort in one of our clients, and we designed it to make sure that they had application in between sessions. And then we designed it to make sure that they actually had to share the knowledge with at least one other person on the team so that they could actually reap the benefits of the investment. And we were crystal clear up front about this is how much time, this is what it looks like. This is, it's like your accountability agreement. And the client is like, this is amazing. Why, how come not everybody else does this? And in my mind, in my own experience, and I'm sure in yours, is that's the only time you should be investing in someone's development is if you have an intentional plan on how to use it and bring it forward. I love your example. Well, obviously I love it because we do this, right? But I think it's important for people to think about, even if you're presenting at a conference, you're the subject matter expert representing the company, doing an encore session internally, right? Minimum, like when you think about being intentional about the person you're investing in and what they're doing, how might you reap the most for everybody so that they can also be in the give and receive cycle too? This is where my brain went when you were talking about this.
I love what you share, because I will add another thing to the training and to the time management. I hear many times from the leaders that they saying, oh, I sent those people to the training about the stress, but now they are not doing what they should do. And I ask them, what did you agree? What kind of outcomes would you like to see from them? I don't know. We never talk about the outcomes. So when you are not where you're not connecting your learning with some kind of outcomes, that they are aligned with your strategy, organizational strategy, or your vision that you have, or what you would like to succeed in your organization, it's very difficult to engage people that they will start using them.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You know, we also ask whenever we run a workshop, when we do our intros, are you a volunteer? Are you voluntold? Are you a hostage? And then we don't make you answer, but we reflect on that and then share your thoughts. And more often than not, there's a lot of voluntolds. That's usually who we end up getting. And to me, that's the most amazing opportunity, because you kind of don't have a choice, so you're there. But if it's useful, how might you exponentially bring that back? And I think one of the things about burnout is it's lonely, and you start to feel isolated, and you feel like you don't matter, and what you're working on doesn't matter. And so part of me is thinking, just while you're talking, what a gift that whenever you send someone voluntold to a training, that you make sure you already schedule that debrief and that you talk about the outcomes. Like, that's already burnout prevention, because you're invested in the person and what they're going to be bringing forward, right? It's because when you're voluntold, you're like, okay, I'm going to go, but your heart's not in it. You're just showing up because you're told to, right? My goal is to convince all voluntolds the experience we create for you is that you become a volunteer in the next session because it was so good. But yeah, for the leaders in there, I think that's a wonderful way to bend time and to maximize, right? But it requires intentionality. I should say, and it requires intentionality. So I want to swim back up earlier, because there's another point I really want to land with you. And you were talking about data. And I'm thinking this might tie to this too. But when you think about data, and you have the leader in tech who's just really busy working on the next tape out or the next innovation, and you say, hey, there's data, you need to reflect on it and look at it. Can you give some specific examples of data that's at people's fingertips that they're not thinking about, that could be useful in them looking at this root cause of burnout in their organization?
I would say, first of all, if you look from the tech leader's perspective, data they should look is how many people are really absent from the work because they are burned out or they have some illness. This is the first one. The second one, you have to measure also what are some relationships between people and leadership, and how you can measure this. I often hear the indicators like missed meetings, when the leaders schedule meetings with the engineers about the challenges that they have, and they don't show up because they have other priorities. So those are missed meetings or rescheduled meetings, or deadline missed. Deadline missed is, for me, critical data that you look, what are some reasons that you reflect? What are my resources? What are the challenges that I have? Then also individual data about people that they are really a little bit more soft side and also engaged. How many ideas they share with the team. How many times they come up early with information or with the thoughts that something is not working.
Mhm.
Those data, some that are very analytical, some of them, they are more soft side, qualitative data, but also qualitative data can be translated nowadays to the more quantitative ones. We have so much information technology nowadays and that we can find out those data.
Yeah, this is so useful. So I'm just thinking from a very practical standpoint, as the leader, to be more observant on who's speaking up in meetings and who isn't, and is that typical or not? I mean, that's one thing right there. And then as the leader, are you creating space for the introverts, the analytical introverts who need time to think? Are you giving them the lead time for that meeting to come prepared with their ideas? And then are you making it so every voice gets heard? Right? I think that's a critical thing too. So it's so interesting when you say this about the data. So yeah, medical leaves or absenteeism, but the missed meetings, I mean, oh my gosh, start tracking that, not to like penalize people, but to collect data to be like, who has this trend? And then what are the reasons, right? Are they missing them at the last minute? Did they forget about them? Did they say yes and then reschedule later? I mean, there's so much, I'm going to use the word juicy. Like there's so much information that a conversation about that can even be had. And it's not, Alenka, I've noticed you've missed meetings with me 7 times. That's not it. It's, hey, Alenka, I really value your time. And I have a feeling you're so busy. You probably don't know you've missed the last 7 meetings with me. How might we work so that we can have our meetings? Or what do you need? Or how might I make them valuable? Like instead of judging or making someone wrong, it's about curiosity. Would you agree with that? Or what would you add to that?
Curiosity is a key, and the second one is listening.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I talk to the engineers level of people, they said that really there is for them big red sign when the leaders, they reschedule the meeting several times because they have more priorities, solving the financial problems or dealing with the strategy or meeting a new client, and not organizing or coming to the meetings where they talk about the team's challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And they share with me that this is about trust. The second thing is about really the leadership, how they are showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's also about how they belong to the team. So whenever the leader shows up, that many times reschedule those meetings, what happens several times in many companies, they got a feeling that they don't care about the engineers, people, or their challenges, and the beliefs that they can fix by themselves.
Yeah. Okay, you just turned it upside down. I think this is so important. This is so important. Okay, so one way to look at it is the employee missing a meeting. The other side of it is look at the leader who's rescheduled. So, okay, here's the double dog dare. Go look at your calendar and see how many of these you've rescheduled yourself. And then ask yourself the question, have I been very transparent and clear why I'm doing this? And then what's your get well plan, right? Because yeah, if you miss a meeting with a direct report, they're going to think one of two things in general. Oh, good. I didn't have anything anywhere. Oh, wow, I guess I don't count. Like there's some variation of that for people, right? Alenka, I really appreciate that perspective so much. So when you think about all that we've talked about today, and I'd love to offer you the chance to give an invitation to the listener. So we're looking at the individual level, we're looking at the system level. We've pulled burnout through the main through line here. I mean, Ctrl Alt Delete is about rebooting, right? So what's the invitation after listening today? What question, action, if you were coaching me right now, because you're coaching this listening base, what's the invitation for them with this new knowledge?
I would like to invite everyone listening today that whenever they see burnout in the organization, start thinking from 2 perspectives, from individual levels and also from systems level. People in an organization, they are interconnected. And whenever we train them to be more aware how they behave, there is a better chance that they will be engaged and they will help co-create it. Systems that they will really help them to behave more from psychological safety, to use all their strengths or full potential and really benefit to the organizational goals or visions. So feeling belonging. Sometimes you feel that there is really complex world and that you will need more time. Yes, this is a kind of approach. It is a long run approach. Changing the culture, I don't talk about the changes, it's about the small changes, evolution on the way, how you can really grow both sides. So having more people, I talk about conscious leaders on all levels, but have also the systems, ecosystem, they can really use full potential and not be burnout in the organization. Don't be afraid to go in that direction, because the systematic approach will help you to really look the complexity from the side of simplicity.
I just think it's so beautiful what you said, because you offered people the invitation to look at it through both lenses. And then the reminder that you don't have to do everything all at once, but that you take the next right step. And I think it goes back to the question you talked about earlier, which is a question I love too, is what matters most right now? And what matters most right now might be to just give yourself 10 minutes and reflect on this question. It could be that simple. We're not saying go build out a master plan in an hour, but even the reflection is going to change your lens and give you more perspective. So I'm so grateful. I'd love to add your song to the playlist, because one of the things I know is that, if people are working out and they're walking, or they're, cleaning in the background or sitting at their desk processing, the song playlist reminds people of some of the key messages. And it also brings them back to that moment when they were listening to what we're talking about. So I'd love to add a song to this. What's one that comes to mind for you, Alenka?
James Mraz, look for the good. Look
Oh,
for the good, look for the heart of your engineers. They are only people with a heart. They are creative, they are interesting, they are authentic, and they can be ambassador for the technology in society.
look for the good, Jason Mraz. Okay, here's the deal. When I met you, I was looking for the good. I was in a breakout room and we were talking about our mission in life and what we're trying to do with our businesses and who we are as people. And have I found so much good in every interaction with you? I'm so grateful you're part of our team. I'm grateful to support your business too. I think that, Alenka, what you bring to the world is good, and you bring people back to their heart, and you let us see it through the lens. I mean, with a PhD in electrical engineering, you understand this more through the lens that our listeners are in. And that is so good and so useful and such a gift today. I mean, if I was to just summarize, we talked about so much that I'm going to bucket it for us, right? We looked at it through the lens of the individual leader, what you can do right now, what questions you can ask, how to manage your meetings, what you might do differently in your own reflection time. We looked at it through the system level, values, behaviors, belonging, trust, psychological safety. And then we melded them together when we looked at the different ways that people can actually take action today. And I think if I'm looking for the good, one of the beautiful gifts you gave everybody was all the practicality of today. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experience. And I know people can find you through our website, but I'd love to give you a chance to presence your social and your website too, if people want to follow you that way. So how can people find you?
I am so grateful that I'm here, because just 2 weeks ago, my new website became live.
Mm-hmm.
And my website talks about how to bring the tech in the heart of technology. And also the name that is behind, it's Collabri. And Collabri is collaboration, because only together we can build a better space for engineering and innovation. And lab is a learning and co-creation lab. So I would like to invite you to just schedule a call, because I believe that through conversation, we can see how we can, I would say, not only treating patches, but also systematically build organizational processes that will support burnout. And also, I would like to invite you to really think about how you can add system intelligence to your leadership skills.
Okay. So spell the website, because I'm already like, yes.
Colabri.
Okay. And we'll put it.
COLABRE.com.
Colabri. Am I saying it right? Colabri?
Colabri.
So cool. I mean, there's such goodness here. And the fact that you're even doing the extra invitation about just who you are as a leader and how you show up. Yeah. So listen, if they want to follow you on LinkedIn, are you open to connecting? Are you on any other social media? How can people find you?
People, they can find me on LinkedIn or on my website.
Okay, great. And we'll link to it too. And listen, come along for the ride, everyone. You want to hang out with Alenka. She knows what she's talking about. And what a gift you've been to us today. Thank you for gracing me and our journey together as we eradicate burnout in tech. And thank you for helping our listeners get real practical today. I think it's so critical, and it's just such a gift you gave us. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I would like to share. This is the stone that everybody can use. On one side, it's a problem. Whenever you see a problem, switch your stone around. There is a solution.
Visual support.
And have it on your desk that remind you that you don't see the problems, but you can see solutions.
Oh, man. I didn't know that was coming. That's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Share this with all your engineering friends. You know they need it. And we'll see you next time on Ctrl Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre. Thanks, everybody.